In our modern English usage, to be salty either means to be down to earth and even coarse in one's language and habits, or to be irritated about a relatively minor thing. But when Jesus encourages his disciples to be salty, he means something else entirely. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. Today's daily lectionary reading from the Gospel of Mark will seem like a bit of a mashup of Jesus' sayings, loosely connected, if they're connected at all. But if there is anything we have learned from reading through this Gospel, it is that Mark is rarely haphazard about his arrangement of things. It is always to one's benefit to pay attention to Mark's arrangement of things, in this case, words that Jesus speaks directly to his disciples. Jesus has sensed a teachable moment, and he's using it. The context here is that Jesus has caught his disciples in an embarrassing conversation in which they're debating which of them will be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. In response, Jesus pulls a small child into the picture, taking it up in his arms to draw a contrast between their notion of greatness and true greatness, which consists of humility and servanthood. Now, apparently referring to this child in his arms, he steers the conversation in a bit of a different direction. Let's listen in on this part of the conversation. Jesus says, "If any of you put a stumbling block before one of these little ones who believe in me, it would be better if you had a great millstone were hung around your neck and you were thrown into the sea. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life maimed than to have two hands and go to hell, to the unquenchable fire. And if your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life lame than to have 2 feet and to be thrown into hell. And if your eye causes you to stumble, tear it out. It is better for you to enter the kingdom of God with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and to be thrown into hell, where their worm never dies and the fire is never quenched. For everyone will be salted with fire. Salt is good, but if salt has lost its saltiness, how can you season it? Have salt in yourselves and be at peace with one another." Well, there's a lot going on here and a lot of moving parts, so to speak. I cannot possibly do justice to everything here, so let me focus in on just one thing. Have you ever looked up to someone only to find out they were not who you thought they were? Maybe you saw the person in a different context from the one you knew them, and they said something so seemingly out of character that it made you rethink your assessment of them? I think we all have. And of course, it is entirely possible we have been that person ourselves at some point. We religious leaders are especially vulnerable to this possibility. I'm aware that people look up to people like me, but that sometimes in unguarded moments, people like me can let an unkind word about someone fly out of our mouths, with the result that our admirers are simply dumbfounded. There's actually a word for it: scandalized. That's what Jesus is talking about here. His warning to the disciples couldn't be more clear. Those in positions of trust need to be aware that their unguarded words can cause people to reassess their character, but not only their personal standing, it's the effect on the gospel itself that's at stake. If we say one thing on Sunday morning and behave differently in unguarded moments, it's a scandal to the gospel. I recently had a heated discussion with someone very close to me, a family member, about someone we both know very well. Without giving up too many details that would betray anyone's identity, the issue was a grudge I had been nursing for many, many years against our common acquaintance. A grudge, I might add, that others who were more directly affected by this person's actions did not share. Now, this member of my family was clearly scandalized that I talk a lot about grace, forgiveness, and resurrection on Sunday, but clearly showed none of these things in my assessment of our common acquaintance. And when my family member called me on it, I was caught up completely short. I was guilty of the scandal of saying one thing and behaving in a contrary way. Since that conversation, I have had to completely rethink not only my grudge to let it go, but also my sense of what it means to forgive. Obviously, we are only human, and we will all do or say things that will cause others to question our integrity. But it does not release us from the obligation to filter everything we say and do through the filter of our effect on the way other people understand the Christian gospel. What does this have to do with being salty? Simply this: one of the qualities of salt is its ability to purify, and that's what Jesus is after here. Tomorrow, the ticklish subject of divorce. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do, this day and in all the days ahead.